In this video, we'll look at cluster analysis in Tableau. We can use cluster analysis in Tableau to help identify those items that have more relevance with each other. Cluster analysis has us group a set of items so that items in the same group, which is called a cluster, have more similarity to each other than to items in other groups based on some characteristic. Incidentally, the clustering feature in Tableau uses the k-means clustering method. Some conditions for clustering include that there must be at least one dimension in the view or on the analysis menu. Make sure that aggregate measures is deselected. You can't perform cluster analysis on cube data, and you also can't use dates, bins, sets, or table calculations in cluster analysis. Okay, so let's get on with this, and we'll drag profit and drop it on the column shelf. And we'll drag sales onto the rows shelf. Now we need a dimension. So what we'll do is we'll grab subcategory as our dimension, and we'll drag that over and drop it on the color properties on the marks card. And now to perform cluster analysis, let's click on the Analytics tab to open up the Analytics pane. Under Model, Identify Cluster, we'll drag that over into our view, and in the Create Clusters palette that appears, we'll drop that on Cluster, and you'll see that our clusters have been created. Notice that Tableau also automatically placed clusters on the color property for this view, and so subsequently it changed subcategory to the detail property. You can also drag the clusters pill into the data pane to save it as a group. Before we do that, we'll change this back to the data pane, and we'll drag that over, and you'll see with the group icon that it's saved as a group. Now in the clusters dialog, we can control how many clusters we want. So number of clusters, right now there's 2. Let's say that we want 4 clusters. We can also specify the fields that Tableau uses as variables to compute the cluster. Right now we're using profit and sales. We could also drag quantity over here, or we can remove it from the variables box as well. Note that Tableau will automatically choose whatever fields it can use from the view to create the initial clusters. And the clusters, once created, are entirely separate and independent from the measures in the view. Now, if you close the clusters dialog, you can raise it again by right-clicking and selecting Edit Clusters on the clusters pill. You can also get a lot of detailed information about the cluster by right-clicking the pill and selecting Describe Clusters. In the dialog that appears, you have a Summary tab, which has a summary of results, and you have a Models tab, which describes the models used to compute the clusters. Okay, so in this video, we looked at cluster analysis in Tableau.